quite the week in Trump land. While things seem to be calming down fiscally, there's been a little bit. I mean, it really is the best drama on television. Like, if there's one thing Trump knows how to do, it's to sell drama to an audience, because that's what there's always something going on, even if it doesn't directly affect us. We always got something. So here's what happened earlier. Oh my God. The dog is freaking out on the floor again. Just rubbing his face all over. I don't know how he doesn't like pull a muscle in his neck doing this. You good? Bless you. Oh my goodness. So earlier this week, Jeffrey Goldberg, the editor-in-chief of The Atlantic, revealed that he was accidentally added to a Signal group chat titled Houthi PC Small Group by National Security Advisor Michael Waltz. Excuse me. He's not related to Coach Sandusky. I don't want to insult him like that. So the chat included officials such as Vice President J.D. Vance, Marco Rubio, and Pete Hegseth and Tulsi Gabbard. It was used to discuss sensitive military plans for airstrikes against the Houthi rebels in Yemen on March 15th, 2025, last week, or a couple weeks ago. So the reason this obviously broke out is you've got a reporter being added to a group chat that I'm assuming, if it's anything to do with that, is classified information. Now, here's my thing. These guys are, and I'm not going to make excuses for it. So if you think this is going to be me playing cover for these guys, I'm going to give you a fair and balanced take in my opinion on it. But I will give you some context. These guys are advised, it's right on the dossier, to use Signal for communications because it can't be hacked, because it's far more encrypted than iMessage. It's far more encrypted than WhatsApp, than Telegram, or in Hillary Clinton's case, your Gmail account. It's a lot easier. It's a lot harder to hack into Signal. You'd have to actually get into the physical device, which is not impossible, but a whole lot more difficult. So they do advise them to use Signal and other encrypted apps for this type of for government communication. Now, with that said, this is a scandal. It's not a huge scandal because nobody got killed and it didn't disrupt the plans, but it was still a scandal. From what I understand, the attack happened and it was actually effective. It went the way they wanted it to, and the rest is history. But that doesn't make it okay. Like, this is, of course, the media is going to try to blow it up and make it seem bigger than it was. We have to get used to that. That's what the next 3.5 years are going to be like. But that doesn't mean that it's totally okay and we should just brush it under the rug. I mean, really, Michael Waltz, I'm not saying he should be fired, should probably be disciplined. Should probably be disciplined for this in some fashion. I mean, I don't know. Listen, so I created a Signal group chat with a couple of people today as a test because I wanted to see, is he okay? He may have to go in the other room. This is ridiculous. I created a Signal group chat with a couple other people and tried to add Mia to it just as an experiment to see what would happen. And when I did that, there's about 3 or 4 steps to add someone to the group. So you have to find their name. So you have to click the add button. You have to find their name in your contacts, click that, and then it'll ask you, do you want to add so-and-so to the group? So this makes me wonder here, was this some type of setup by Michael Waltz? I'm dead serious here. I mean, you get multiple warnings when you go to Signal as to who you're adding to this group chat. I find it a little bit odd that he would add not only a journalist, but the head of a newspaper that's been particularly hostile to this administration. It just seems a little bit odd to me. So I almost wonder if there's some type of sabotage going on here. Regardless, Waltz needs to be looked into. He needs to be looked into. He needs to be disciplined for this. So, excuse me, the National Security Council confirmed the chat's authenticity, stating it was reviewing how an inadvertent number was added to the chain. President Trump, go ahead and play Trump's response to this.
The Atlantic that said that some of your top cabinet officials and aides had been discussing very sensitive material through Signal and included an Atlantic reporter for that. What is your response to that?
I don't know anything about it. I'm not a big fan of the Atlantic. To me, it's a magazine that's going out of business. I think it's not much of a magazine, but I know nothing about it. You're saying that they had what?
They were using Signal to coordinate on sensitive materials and
having to do with what? Having to do with what? What were they talking about?
With the Houthis.
The Houthis, you mean the attack? Well, it couldn't have been very effective because the attack was very effective. I can tell you that. I don't know anything about it. You're telling me about it for the first time. Anybody else?
Yeah, so I mean, that's such a Trump response to just attack the newspaper. I don't know anyone who reads The Atlantic. So yeah, The Atlantic was going to leak it to its 7 readers. And but what it sounds like is this was a close call. We've all had a couple close calls. Whether it's at work, traffic, whatever the case, at home, whatever the case may be, we've all had close calls where negligence on our side caused us to do something rather stupid. That doesn't make it okay, but it also doesn't mean it's the end of the world. Especially if the attack, like I said, sounds like it was effective. This doesn't mean discipline shouldn't be doled out, but it's also something we should just probably move on from. I don't see any gain in dwelling on this. But it's all over the news here. So the judge that got put in charge of looking into this was the same judge who called back all those flights going to El Salvador that we covered last week, which I find to be a little odd. Don't you think that's a little weird? I don't know. We've also got this report from Laura Loomer. Oops, and I just closed it because these things are so fucking touchy. We've got this report from Laura Loomer here that says Alex Wong, the Chinese Deputy National Security Advisor appointed by President Trump, who is at the center of the Signalgate scandal, is married to U.S. Attorney Candace Cho Wong, a Chinese woman who was one of the key attorneys involved in prosecuting January 6th protesters. Alex, first off, let's say this is true. And it seems like it is. This doesn't mean there's a grand conspiracy at play, but let's say this is true. If you're Trump, I mean, you've already been burned from this in the past. How are you not vetting your people better here? This guy, he's a Chinese national, should already be a red flag to be in any type of national security role. I don't care if he's lived in the U.S. for the last 35 years. But the fact that he's married to an attorney who's also from China, that was one of the attorneys who was going after, who was politically persecuting your supporters, you're telling me there's no one else that could have had this job? No one else? Says Alex's wife, Candace Chu Wong, worked under the Obama and Biden administrations as an assistant U.S. attorney. So it just gets better. In the U.S. Attorney's Office for the District of Columbia, she was involved in the prosecution of January 6ers. Making matters worse, Alex Wong worked for the Covington and Burling law firm, which is one of the law firms that the president recently stripped of its security clearance and terminated all their government contracts via executive order. Trump accused them of being involved in weaponization of government. And she's got all kinds of receipts. It's all on Twitter. So, it's at Laura Loomer if you want to see them. I mean, again, this is, maybe there is a conspiracy here. Again, I do find it very, very odd that somebody just got randomly added to a Signal group chat. If it were just like he clicked the wrong name and it added him, that would be one thing. But there is like a 4-step process to add somebody to a Signal group chat. If you don't believe me, go try it. Go set up a group chat with 2 of your friends and then try to add a third one. There's multiple steps you have to go through. It makes you confirm it and everything, which to me I don't know. There would have to be a lot of missteps for this to be an accident. That's where my mind keeps going here. And the media, again, like I said, guys, everything we do for the next 3.5 years is going to be put under a microscope. We just have to deal with it. Everything. We have to avoid shit like this. We have to avoid giving them ammunition from shit like this. Even though there was really nothing that came of it, it was a whoopsie that could have been a really bad whoopsie. We have to avoid giving them ammunition. And I think Michael Waltz, I don't understand why all the blame is coming on Hegseth for this. I mean, listen, I had my questions about Hegseth. I think his heart's in the right place. I had my questions about his readiness to be the head of something as large as the Department of Defense. With that said, and he kind of won me over in the hearings, though. With that said, I don't know how much you can blame him. None of them should have been having this conversation over the phone, whether it was Signal or anything, in my opinion. But with that said, I don't know how much blame you can place on him when it was Waltz that added Jeffrey Goldberg to this conversation. Should he have been more careful? Yeah, everyone there should have been more careful. It shouldn't happen again going forward. But Waltz is your boogeyman. This is like blaming Alec Baldwin for that shooting. As much as I don't like Alec Baldwin, this is like blaming Alec Baldwin for that shooting on the Rust set when he was given, when the guy had handled hundreds, if not thousands, of prop guns throughout his career, and every single one of them up until that point had been loaded with blanks. It's like blaming Alec Baldwin rather than the armorer who handed him the gun. This just doesn't make sense to me. I think what they need to do here is admit they were wrong. We fucked up. There's no excusing it. It was a mistake. We verified that it was a mistake. We're going to put protocols in place to ensure that it doesn't happen again. No, you can't know what they are because it's national security. But we're going to move on from this now. And the thing is, the longer we blow this up and the longer we sit here and scream and yell at the media for reporting it and try to put, oh, but Hillary, but no, we fucked up. It's okay. It's okay that we fucked up. We do make, nobody bats 1,000, guys. Not even me. Try, as hard as that may be to believe for some of you. Nobody bats 1,000. We all make mistakes. So instead of trying to play whataboutism and say, but what about that so-and-so did this? We fucked up. We're going to make sure it doesn't happen again. We are going to look into why this individual was in this group chat in the first place. We're moving on. We're done. You guys can scream and shout into the void about it. We're done talking about it. There was one other thing that came in there from JD Vance, who was in the group chat. It says, I am not sure. This is a quote from him. I am not sure the president is aware how inconsistent this is with his message on Europe right now, that he's referring to the strike on the Houthis. There's a further risk that we see a moderate to severe spike in oil prices. I am willing to support the consensus of the team and keep these concerns to myself, but there is a strong argument for delaying this a month, doing the messaging work on why this matters, seeing where the economy is, etc. So Vance was just playing devil's advocate, and they tried to make this out as, oh, there's beef in the Trump White House. There's all kinds of turmoil and tensions. Look at Vance bashing the president behind his. That's not what this is. I thought you guys' big critique of Trump was that he was going to surround himself with yes men who just did whatever he wanted and let him steamroll all over the country. You've got his meeting of the minds here, people he surrounded himself with, and his second in charge has actually got the balls, unlike every administration we've seen prior to this one, to stand up and say, I don't think we're doing the right thing here. And maybe we are. I'm not dead set either way, but here are the cons of this and the risks that we need to weigh out. This doesn't mean Vance is trying to undermine Trump. This is a horrible hit job that they would even try to roll with this here. I think this is a positive thing, that he doesn't have people in his ear just, oh, you're so great, Mr. President. Great job. Everything you do is just perfect. We'll go along with whatever you say. Won't even question it. No, I like that they're doing this. And he brings up a good point. You're gonna shoot a missile at someone in the Middle East while advocating for peace in Europe. There's also a risk, like I said, anytime you see instability in the Middle East, oil shoots up. Vance is just saying, hey, this isn't an urgent thing where people are going to die if we don't do it right now. Maybe we wait a month and see what's going on in Europe, and we see where the economy is and how we can sell this message to the American public without making ourselves look like a bunch of fucking hypocrites. So I don't see anything wrong with what Vance said here. I think it's a positive development because Trump really is in a CEO role in this second term here. I surrounded myself with people I trust. I'm going to let them run the show. I'll answer all the questions. Obviously, final say has got to go through me, but I'm going to trust the people I surrounded myself with. You see football coaches do this all the time. Matt Rule's doing it in Nebraska. We'll see if it works. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. But you've got to make sure when you're in the CEO mode that you don't surround yourself with idiots, and that's what this is. Idiots who add not only journalists, but journalists who are outright hostile to your administration and have been for a very long time to group chats, and keep the group chats off of the top secret clearance related group chats off of third-party apps. That's all the advice I can give you guys. I don't know what else to say. But like I said, I think the best thing you can do right now is own the mistake. Don't dwell on it. Own it. Stop playing whataboutism and pointing fingers at other things that don't have anything to do with this. Discipline the people. Excuse me. Discipline the people who are responsible for it. Investigate how the hell it happened. Put protocols into place to make sure it doesn't happen again. And move on. That's the only... Hey, thanks for watching. If you liked what you saw, be sure to click the link in the description to get the full episode on Rumble. If you prefer to listen along, you could actually get us on Spotify, Spreaker, and iHeartRadio. You can also go to www.outlawstreamers.com to learn more about not just my show, but tons of other great shows and all the exciting projects they have coming up. Follow my socials at Caleb Isn't Funny on Twitter and Instagram, at Caleb Salvatore Comedy on the Chinese spy app that is TikTok, and be sure to like and subscribe to this YouTube channel. Thanks, and we'll see you every Saturday for brand new episodes of That's Based. Peace.